No one can pick up all the trash in the world, but you can pick up the trash that's around you, and that still makes
Yeah.
an impact. So it's making the scary bits of conservation just smaller, and like, look, you with your hands right here right now can do something.
Off gassing.
A scuba podcast
With host Olivia from Fully Submerged Scuba. In this first Takeover episode, I welcome back Olivia from Fully Submerged Scuba to host as she speaks with the recipient of DEMA's Wavemakers Award, coordinator of the Sea Turtle Healing Center at Bavard Zoo, and instructor with Ohana Dive Company, Jess Patterson. From an early age, Jess knew she wanted to pursue a career in helping marine life. Her mission is now to inspire and educate future advocates of the aquatic world. Olivia and Jess sit down and speak about her journey from San Diego to Florida, turtle conservation, the good and bad of aquariums, how every little bit helps when it comes to conservation, and much more. Please enjoy.
All right, Jess, welcome to the Off Gassing podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, this is my first episode takeover, so take it easy on me, everyone listening. Jess, you can lay in all you want, that's fine. So today we are going to talk scuba, turtle rescue, rehabilitation, probably some sharks, all the things, and how Jess is impacting conservation and all those good stuff. So let's get right into it. If you want to start by introducing yourself, your first breaths you took underwater, a little into your diving history, and where you're currently at in your diving career.
Totally. All right. Yeah. So, hi guys. My name is Jess. Let's see. I've been certified for coming up on 15 years. I got certified right after I turned 18. I knew from a very young age that I wanted to be in marine biology, in the ocean, doing something important, even back when we knew that there were ocean problems. So, my goal has always been to be in the ocean as much as possible. I feel very blessed to be, that one child that grew up to do exactly what she wanted to do. You have kids running around, they're like, I want to be a fire truck. I'm like, okay. But I actually got to grow up and be someone important for the environment. So right after I turned 18, got scuba certified. This was out in San Diego, California. So yay, cold water. And right after I graduated high school, really started looking into working with aquatic animals professionally. I got a job as an aquarist at SeaWorld, and that I'd been there for almost a decade, working with their sharks, sea turtles, rays, fish, anything that wasn't a bird or a mammal was in my department. So it was really cool, the array of animals that I got to care for. When I was an aquarist there, it was also my job to clean our exhibits. So my 300,000 gallon sea turtle exhibit, I was the one diving in it almost every day to clean up after the turtles. So by the time I had left SeaWorld, I had over 1,500 dives under my belt. Mind you, in aquariums, but a lot of time underwater still. So I developed this love for sea turtles in the ocean. And while I love taking care of the sea turtles at SeaWorld and the few rescue sea turtles that we got, I wanted to really be more impactful. So I wanted to go full force into just rescue. That's what brought me to going to school to being a veterinary technician. So started veterinary technician school through Purdue University. And in the middle of that, I applied for the job out here in Florida. So in 2018, I became the coordinator of the Sea Turtle Healing Center at Bavard Zoo. So I've been at Bavard Zoo for about 5.5 years now, helping manage that sea turtle rescue. And let's see. So end of 2022 at DEMA, I met the dive shop that I currently work for. They more so found me. I was working with the Fin Pin girls and helping them with their booth. And the Ohana Dive Shop came by and hung out. We all met each other, and they, they're like, hey, go diving with us. Come dive Blue Heron Bridge. And, I've been out here for 3 years at that point and have never dove Blue Heron Bridge. So they were like, you need to go dive. And I'm like, I know, but I work so much with the turtles. So it's like, that's where it all happened. I went from diving every single day at SeaWorld. And then when I came over here, there was no diving involved, but we're easily working 50 to 70 hour weeks with these turtles. So the last thing I really wanted to go do was go drive 2 hours down south to go diving. But I'm very, very thankful for everybody at Ohana, because they literally pulled me out of the sad depths that I was in at that point, and really turned around my life for me. And I was just like, I miss diving. I miss it a lot. And they kind of encouraged me. They saw something in me, and I went from dive master to instructor. Let's see, June 2023, dive master, instructor by October. And it's one of the best things that happened in my life. So I get to not only just work with sea turtles and talk about sea turtles on land, but even on boats now. Like, I harass all my divers who really are there to see sharks. But if we see a turtle, I'm getting everybody's attention. I'm like, look, also important, turtles. So it's just been a really fun, it's been an adventure. It has been, and like what happened to me and how I got into my diving career, like I want to do that for other people. And we all know, that's why we're listening to this podcast. We all like diving. Wow, surprise.
Yeah.
So there's just so much power behind it. And I want more people to experience that.
Yeah, I definitely say you really hold that like passion for sharing with others like so immensely. That's a piece that I lack. I mean, not that I don't lack the passion, but that's like getting out of the instructing, was that as much as I enjoy teaching others, or like, how do I even phrase it?
Phrase it in a nice way.
Yeah, it's like,
no, I get it.
I want more people to dive and enjoy and things like that, but it's like the working with other people and sharing with other people is not like the number one part of it that I'm passionate about. Like, I want them to have it just with somebody else.
Absolutely. No, I totally get it. And even as like a baby instructor, like I'm, just kind of getting really into this, and you get those people who, like, kids are totally like, yes, I'm here to learn. Okay, I made a mistake. That's totally fine. But when you get like adults, they're not okay with making mistakes. And you're like, you're going to make mistakes. You need to get over it. And especially you throw them in water and they're so awkward. Their egos are bruised. And it's like, you're okay. I'm laughing on the inside, but I'm not letting you see that.
They're definitely their hardest critics.
Yeah.
And they'll kind of like shut down.
Yeah. And it's hard to pull them out of that. And I deal with that too. At the rescue, I have interns. I have volunteers. We have people. I'm constantly mentoring people, whether it be in sea turtles or on the shark diving boat, new dive masters as an instructor. So you have all different personalities, and it is exhausting. And those star students are the ones that are like, okay, yes, this is worth it. This is worth it. Yes. And they go on to do amazing things.
Oh yeah, for sure. Right. Yeah, but we definitely need the instructors with your passion and enthusiasm for it.
I appreciate hearing that. Thank you.
Okay, so then back to a couple of things. So were you born and raised around San Diego, California? So you're like been by the water growing up?
Correct.
So that definitely helps with having that passion and understanding for the ocean.
Yeah.
I was completely landlocked Midwest my whole life. So I'm always jealous of people who have gotten to like
experience
come up
their whole life.
Yeah, by the water. But I think as long as like, I think it's just like important to make sure that we're able to like get that kind of like passion and conservation message and spread into those places where there's not the ocean, because I think that's something that like where I was, people really do not have any sort of concept or understanding of the ocean and things like that, because it's so out of sight, out of mind.
Correct. And I love talking to people who have been landlocked about the ocean, because sometimes talking about this subject, it's like they're watching Nat Geo for the first time. And they're like, what? There's a creature that does that? I'm like, yeah. And you know what? They depend on the waterway that's all the way up in, Ohio or the top of the Mississippi, whatever. Like, you polluting there eventually makes it to the ocean. So you are involved in the ocean no matter where you are. And giving those connecting points, conservation, and talking about it, it's hard to not talk about doom and gloom. And whenever I talk to people about conservation, I make it tangible. When we talk about the trash pandemic, no one can pick up all the trash in the world, but you can pick up the trash that's around you, and that still makes an impact. So it's making the scary bits of conservation is smaller, and like, look, you with your hands right here right now can do something. And it's you don't have to go out of your way or spend a lot of money to do it. It is literally just picking up a piece of trash on the beach, because I am tired of pulling plastic out of sea turtles' butts.
Oh, we can get into all that.
Real old. So it's just endless. But it's so funny that you mentioned coming from a landlocked state, because my coworkers in San Diego at SeaWorld, and even here, I have a ton of coworkers from Ohio, Iowa, and they are some of the best and biggest ocean advocates. So it doesn't matter like where you grow up. It's true, you can be whatever you want to be. It just depends on the effort that you want to put into it.
Right. Yeah, maybe it's a little of making up for lost time.
Absolutely. And, just like you went, so it seems like very just full frontal assault into diving and trying to make up that time. So
yeah, it's funny though. I was born in Indiana, so when you said Purdue, I was like, oh.
Yeah. I went when I was in school. Part of my mentorships, I had to go in person. So I drove up to Purdue and hung out there and got to see the campus. And Indiana's beautiful.
Can be.
It's different. Okay. I like different. There was hills. Oh my God.
Maybe somewhere.
There were some hills.
There might have been a couple for sure. I'll give you that.
Yeah.
All right. So both of us also have aquarium backgrounds. On the topic of being landlocked and like accessibility to people who aren't by the ocean, I'm quite confident that my introduction and what instilled that love for the aquatic world came from aquariums for me. I did like my grandparents have a house in Florida, so I did get to go down to Florida a couple times. Like I got to see the ocean a couple times throughout childhood, but the rest of that experience all comes from aquariums. So I wanted to just do a little talk about our opinion, the controversial
absolutely
topic of aquariums and good and bad. And
absolutely. I talk about this frequently. I just like you. I love aquariums. I love aquarium theory. I love taking care of aquariums, and I have seen the magic of aquariums when they're done right. And when you have the right people taking care of the animals who are knowledgeable, and you're not just hiring anybody. There are certain animals that 100% should not be in captivity. And we need to acknowledge that. And I think the way that things are going these days, it is more and more evident. There is more and more bigger voices, and the mistreatment of animals is not getting away anymore, which is great. I mean, so I have made my whole life about taking care of animals, and I've been in aquariums, I've been in zoos. There are zoos who live up to the American Zoological Association, AZA standards, and these standards are very high. They are very high. Yeah. So just to put an example, there are like 500 something exotic animal places in Florida. So they have permits sometimes to have these exotic animals. Only like 20 something of them are AZA approved. So just to put that kind of like stark, like to live up to that standard, it is there's really a global effort into these standards that are made. So, the zoo that I work for is AZA approved, and we go really above and beyond to really make sure that our animals are happy. And all the animals, even in our little Florida area, they're all rescues. These are all black bears and bobcats that have been injured or would not survive otherwise in the wild. So that's it's really cool to be able to be a part of that. But like you're saying, when you're landlocked, sometimes the only thing that inspires people are things like that. Having an aquarium right in front of you. One of our turtles that we could not release, her name is Archie, and she currently lives in Branson, Missouri. She doesn't know
at the aquarium there.
Yeah, she is at the aquarium on the boardwalk, and she is an absolute queen. They have her on a billboard, like the whole thing, and we frequently talk to the aquarist who cares for her, and she's just like, you will not believe the amount of people who are just inspired by Archie and her story, because she was hit by a boat. So she has it's actually called bubble butt syndrome, where they have these buoyancy problems. I swear it's in the sea turtle rehab Bible, bubble butt syndrome. So, being able to see an animal who had been hit by a boat is no longer releasable. It's like, oh, but you don't like that? Okay, do something about it. And it really inspires people. So, that importance of having animals right in front of people. We talk about this all the time when it's done correctly. When animal, there is always that asterisk. Like, the only way this is worth it, and the only way it should happen is 100% animal welfare.
Absolutely. I interned at an aquarium that was in prep for their AZA renewal, which is another thing to note. Mm-hmm. Once you are AZA certified, that doesn't mean you're just set for life. I think it's every 4 years?
5.
Every 5 years, you are re-evaluated, basically. Yep. So you have to continue to upkeep those standards. So it's not just like your scuba certification one and done, and then, things can slack off.
Yeah.
But yeah, they were in prep for their reevaluation or whatever you call it. And while I was there for my internship, and I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Like, it was intense. And they were already, you know what I mean? Like, they were already AZA certified. So it was just making sure that everything was still, perfectly.
Yep. And those AZA standards, they change all the time. So even if they were up to code last 5 years ago, in terms of large animal handling and stuff like that, those codes change all the time to better the animal and the people caring for them. So you have to make sure that you're up to code as it changes as well.
Right. Which was another thing I was going to bring up, was that the other important part about aquariums is that we keep zoos, aquariums, the whole thing, that we keep up in trying to improve and change and get better over time.
Absolutely.
As part of, it's not really just a blanket statement that zoos and aquariums are good, period.
Mm-hmm.
With some asterisks.
There is definitely some asterisks, and it's like, I love to say that I support good zoos and aquariums who are part of the sustainability programs, who are breeding endangered animals and responsibly and things like that. So yeah, there's definitely something good to be said about aquariums, but I 100% understand when people don't like the idea of animals in captivity. I get it, but if you don't like it, then you need to get everybody on board to protect them in the wild a little bit better. And it is a global effort. So
for sure,
not everybody is just awe-inspired by watching Discovery Channel anymore. You have to put the animals right in front of them. And
for sure,
this happens with the shark diving too. Baited shark diving. Is it good? Is it bad? Is it altering their behaviors? Haven't seen scientific proof of that yet, but being able, having people come on the shark boat and they tell me, I'm here to conquer my fear of sharks. This is exactly who I want on this boat. And then we go dive with some lemon sharks, and they come up, and some people have just been crying because they were like, that was the coolest thing and most magical experience I've ever had. What can I do for these animals? Let me tell you. I'll tell you all.
Let me tell you.
You sit down. You get your gear off, eat your sandwich. I'm going to tell you about it. So
I brought a PowerPoint presentation actually. If you would refer to my slates right here.
Yep. So there's, good and bad, but then, you try to make the best, for me, and being in conservation, any situation that I'm in where I get to talk to people, I make sure it's the best situation for people, animals, getting people to leave and caring about those animals.
Right.
You get people that come back and they're like, you talk about the lemon sharks that have bullet wounds in their heads. Yeah. We currently, about a month ago, we had three female lemon sharks who had bullet wounds in their heads, most likely from fishermen.
Yeah.
So I'm not trying to point fingers. It's just, that makes the most sense.
Right.
Yeah. So
most probable
in Florida.
Oh.
So it's, and when you point that out to them, they're like, what? Like, this happens? I'm like, yes, people can be terrible when they don't care about these certain animals, but a lot of the times they're just uneducated about it.
Right.
And when people don't care about something unless they understand it and they know about it. So that's part of people's fear of sharks. They don't understand them. I'm like,
yeah,
come here. Let me show you how cool they are and how important they are. You like your fish? You want to fish for mahi? Well, guess what? To have mahi, you got to have sharks around.
Right.
So healthy oceans need sharks. So tangent, but yes, there are those important things where we have to bring the animals to the people.
So a thing I've been seeing more and more happen in aquariums, though, is the introduction of like technology in building like interactive or immersive experiences without having physical animals, which I love.
Yes.
And the way I've seen it done, a lot of places do different things, but every time I've seen it, usually they all have different little yeah, and it's really, really cool to see the things they're coming up with to get like, particularly it's usually geared towards kids.
Yeah.
But it usually, like, most times I've seen it, it's like there can be a touch tank right next to this draw your own fish that gets projected into the
100%.
ocean scene on the wall. And 90% of the kids are coloring and drawing their own fish and don't even blink an eye at the touch tank.
Yeah.
And those are the kinds of things I'm like, this is literally like right in front of you, an example of a thing that we maybe don't need to do that anymore. And we can do something else that's getting them super inspired, just like immersed in, involved in doing something, and they're having a blast doing it. And they think it's the coolest thing. I think they even had one where you could like take your picture and they'd put their face into a scuba diver, which I was like, that's fantastic.
Perfect.
Get people to be like, these kids to be so excited that like maybe in the future they can actually be scuba divers and go diving with the real fish.
Absolutely.
And that be like the perfect pipeline of that rather than having the actual animal. So I just didn't know if you had any other experiences or thoughts on those kinds of things.
Absolutely. Especially with the younger generations who are growing up with technology. That seems more common and comfortable for them. So I could see why they're all like, oh, VR set. I know what to do with this.
Oh, yeah, the VR.
Yeah, the VR stuff. And like Google does this, like, I don't know if you've ever played with them, but it's like if you look up sea turtle on Google, you can use your phone and it'll like not project it, but like it'll put a giant sea turtle like in your living room on your phone. And like cool stuff like that. So, and it just shows you mass and like how big it is actually compared to a person. So things like that can absolutely help kind of replace things like that. And especially when it comes to, like, we're just talking just basic aquariums to tropical fish. Most saltwater fish are, I don't want to say most, because we made a big stride in breeding saltwater fish for aquariums, but a lot of them are still caught off the reefs because they have such complex juvenile stages. For example, the silly yellow tang. They have one of the most complex like life stages. They all eat something different each life stage. And it's been hard to be able to breed them in captivity because of that. But there have been huge strides just in the last decade of breeding these Nemos and Dories, things like that. When those movies came out, everybody wanted one. Well, by that time, those tangs, they were not being bred in captivity. So, they were being pulled off the reefs. And there is been things like that where we're talking about VR and digital stuff and those hands-on things at these educational facilities can absolutely replace some of that stuff. I think that there will always be saltwater fish because people in tanks, because people have tanks at home. But if we can support those groups who are figuring out how to breed them in captive care instead of pulling them off of the reefs, that's way more ideal for everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody involved.
Absolutely. Yeah. Do you think there's any concern of like technology replacing? People will be like, why would I go actually scuba diving where I have to, it's so expensive, it's blah, 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 whatever, when I can just throw on my VR set and do that instead?
Kind of already see this with kids now. They want to stay inside and, they're not outside. This has been the complaint since I was a teenager.
Right. Yeah.
So it could be. And, there's that fine line of look at all this cool technology, but also I really want to pull you out into the ocean to see it in person. Like, you think that's really cool? Well, let's go look at that octopus in its home. And you're going to just be mind blown. I mean, everything in person is better. It really is.
I feel kind of similar in that I feel like the kids or the people that are more inclined or like don't want to, they weren't going to experience it in person anyway. Like they weren't interested. It wasn't. So by giving the virtual, it's like just giving them an option that then they're going to see it rather than not seeing it at all.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like they were never going to go and actually show up and do it, but they might do it virtually. So then you're just, it feels to me like it's just expanding the audience of people rather than limiting it.
Absolutely. I could totally see that side too. And again, it still inspires people to care without even having to get in the ocean. A lot of even my volunteers who help me with the sea turtles, they're not scuba certified. They've just seen sea turtles like at the piers or, nesting and stuff like that. And they're still just absolutely down to do anything to help the sea turtles. So there is always potential of just being able to inspire people with technology.
Yeah.
My worry is that with technology, we're also desensitized to it.
Mm.
It's, another screen. It's, because with this, it's like you're only using your eyes and your ears. You can't feel anything, but we can just hope and continue to hope that people will be easily inspired by what they're seeing and the stories that people are telling and things like what you and I are doing, talking about the ocean. Just be like, okay, that could be some scuba diving. That could be something I want to see. Like you're putting out cool things and all this stuff. And I was like, yeah, I'm telling you, I want, yes. Being an instructor is another source of income for me, but like really it is seeing those like little sparks in people like, okay, this is really cool. I'm like, I know. That's what I'm here to tell you.
So one of the things that I come across a lot on the internet is like the people who are just terrified of the ocean. Not only because of there's obvious like fear of sharks is like a super common one that we're like still recovering from the Jaws epidemic of people just being amongst all the media attention that sharks tend to get. But I think Jaws was a particularly large factor in that.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's like the thalassophobia, just of like the deep, dark nothingness. Mm-hmm. And I feel like also the fact that like the ocean is so unexplored that it's like this unknown and so like difficult to study and stuff that I feel like there's so much lack of information and stuff that just like garners so much fear. And I really wish that the ocean had like such a interest and draw kind of like the way people think of space. Do you know how like space is like this thing that's like so cool and we want to get up there and live in outer and like all this thing. And I'm like, why doesn't the ocean have this attention? It was like, we know far more about space than we do about our own oceans here on Earth.
Yeah.
And I just wish that like we could have that same kind of whatever. But what do you think? Any direction or things we could take to, what's your like strategy for removing people's fear of sharks, removing their fear of this deep unknown ocean? I mean, like obviously you talked about education and like having them experience it.
I think that, like you were saying, just education's a huge one.
Yeah.
We think we know a bunch about space.
Well, yeah. I feel like more than the deep ocean, though. It's still like not a lot, but like
100%. And maybe it's because we don't actually know anything could be out there in space, but we have a good idea what could be down deep. But,
yeah, that's
like,
true.
But we. To me, space is terrifying. I watched the movie Alien when I was way too young, and I have been completely ruined. I can't even...
Alien was your Jaws.
Exactly. I can't even see Sigourney Weaver and be like, oh, God. So, again, I think it's just seeing people who have already done it, survived it, came back, loved it, and are excited. So always having this positive feelings towards the ocean, and all you need is that one little opportunity to give them something fun in it. And if it starts with just going to a tide pool and be like, look, that's an anemone, like,
right,
amazing. So just baby steps, because there are people who 100% suffer from thalassophobia. I mean, I've had some divers on the boat where they're like, I kind of freak out when I can't see the bottom. And I'm like, well, it's usually our first dive, so we're going to get over it together. And, just giving something to focus on and the best outcome of the dive. And, I think it definitely helps when there's sharks swimming around, where they don't focus on the fact that they can't see the bottom. And it's like, especially when you do the shark diving, you're seeing the quote scary thing right in front of you already.
Right.
And a lot of it is true. You just have to jump in and do it. And some people just don't want to do it, and that's fine. And you can still inspire them to be ocean minded without actually putting them in the ocean.
Yeah, that's true.
That's really all of my goal. I'm like, well, I mean, I want to get them in the ocean too, but if they are hard and fast, like, I want nothing to do with the ocean, like, that's fine. But you can also care about it without putting your feet in the water. And this is how you do it, XYZ.
What's your short list of things to do without getting in the ocean that can help support?
So it is, I mean, it's been harped before time. Everybody's at this point desensitized to it, which sucks, but it is, pick up your trash. Pick up trash that's not yours too. Like, we're all in this together, unfortunately. Other people's trash is now everybody's trash. And it is, between trash and fishing line, one of the worst things that wildlife is dealing with out in the ocean. But I mean, there's oil spills, etc. Like, doom and gloom.
The list goes on.
The list goes on. But the big things are, pick up your trash, eat seafood from reputable sources. I don't eat a lot of seafood. Really, the only time I will eat seafood is if, like, my friend caught it, or spearfishing caught it, whatever, because it came directly from them. But the damage that commercial fishing does to the environment is just astronomical. Not just the overfishing of one population that they are actively fishing for, but all of the bycatch. It is one of the biggest ways sharks and sea turtles die. It is by bycatch. And then their carcasses, which were not the thing that the fishermen wanted, are thrown back into the environment. Like, it's really unfortunate. So it's just, and people have been talking about this, just about all meats in general, just eat less of it. My other thing is, shark product is in a lot of things. One of the biggest things that we use from sharks is actually from their liver. It's oils from their liver. It's called squalane or squalene. It's spelled different ways. But it's in moisturizers. Has a moisturizing effect. So it could be in your lotions, shampoos, conditioners. I tell I even tell men, I'm like, look, I know you have like a 15-in-1 where it's like shampoo, conditioner, body wash, toothpaste, shoe polish, like all in one bottle. But like, check the back of it, make sure if it has squalane, it is a vegan derivative. Because if
Right.
it's not, it's from sharks. So
Yeah.
just really checking your products. And like the bummer about this is that we're all so busy. I mean, endless. I work 7 days a week. I still manage to find time to do these things, pick up other people's trash, take the time to study products that I'm using to make sure that they're not using shark or ocean product irresponsibly. Things like that. You just have to put in those extra 5 minutes to do it. And, you know, we think it's this big hassle, but it really isn't. Because once you do it, especially when you're looking for squalene, once you do it, you know, okay, that product has it. I don't want to, I don't want to use that. And then always excitement and people's passion is contagious. So if you like something, get other people to like it. I mean, that is what I feel like that is, besides saving sea turtles, that is the reason why I was put on this planet, is to get people excited about the ocean and wanting to do something about it. Just talk positively, and even the sad stuff, but don't make it doom and gloom and make people think they can't do anything about it. Everybody has the power to do something. So just those few things. Pick up your trash, watch what your products have in them, talk positively, things like that. It's really not that hard once you start incorporating it into your day-to-day life.
Yeah. I think baby steps too, like.
Oh yeah. It's like working out. Like, don't just start running 6 miles a day. You're gonna burn yourself out. So do little steps, incorporate those things step by step. And that just becomes your whole life.
Right. Yeah. I have a reusable water bottle, and I switch from using plastic water to a reusable water bottle. I think the one that took me a while, bringing my own grocery bags rather than the plastic bags, it was like I'd forget them, because it wasn't a habit yet. But as long as I just kept focusing on being like, no, I'm going to remember my reusable bags, or I'm going to put them in my car so they're always in my car, so that I don't forget them in my apartment. And then now it's like second nature to me. It feels weird to walk into a grocery store without, like, I feel like I'm missing something now. And then I switch over, you know what I mean? Like one thing at a time, but this is over the span of literally years that I've switched over behaviors. And obviously I'm still far from perfect. And that's the other thing. And like, if you fumble up a time or two or whatever, like, it's not the end of the world, but it's just keeping that, positive mindset, and like,
everybody just has to
making the effort.
Exactly. Put in the effort. And you don't have to do conservation recycling. You don't have to do it 100% perfect. And I think that's where people don't like to start. They're like, well, I can't not use this product or XYZ. So like, what's the point? And I'm like, it doesn't matter. You can still recycle or not use plastic bags. Ugh, the plastic bag thing drives me up a wall, because by the time I left San Diego, they had already banned plastic bags, or you had to buy them at the grocery store. I'm like, great.
Yeah.
Win. And then I came out here, and we're not quite there. There are a lot of facilities, like a lot of places, that they don't just put your one item in a bag anymore. It's weird because some people, I've had this happen multiple times. Like, I'll go to the grocery store and I'll have like 2-3 items. Well, I have 2 good working hands, and they ask like, oh, you want a bag or a plastic bag? And I'm like, no, I'm okay. And they'll kind of give me like attitude, like, oh, okay, well, and I'm like, really? You're going to get upset that I didn't want your plastic bag? And it was this one woman in particular who, like, oh, it's the girl who doesn't want plastic bags. And I told her, I was like, look, I work with sea turtles in rehab, and I am tired of pulling plastic bags out of their butt. After that moment, she never gave me sass again, and she asks how my turtles are doing. So it's just, making that connection. Like, I'm not just like, there's a reason why, and it just, there's no reason to give people sass about not wanting a plastic bag. Like, who are you? Do you work for the plastic bag company?
Yeah, but then on the reverse of that, like there's sometimes people that are so extreme
Mm-hmm.
that they will like really turn their nose up and criticize for every little baby
Absolutely.
step, and I'm like, that's not productive. It's like
No,
we gotta
there's
be.
both sides.
The other thing I've like recently like had like this like aha kind of moment thing for was I'm not vegan or vegetarian myself, but meeting more people who are vegan or vegetarian that don't have such that like harsh, strict line of that it's like it is this or it is not.
Yeah.
So that's another thing that I think, like, you know, with the eating less meat, eating less fish
Mm-hmm.
for the environment type of a situation, that it doesn't have to be like you have to be a vegan to save the world. And you can also, you know, be a vegan if you want. Every once in a while, have
Whatever. Yeah.
yeah, have your cooked lionfish from getting them off the reef or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. Like, it's not so black and white.
Yeah. No, absolutely. It again, it's like the working out thing. When you work
Yeah.
out, you ease into it, and or else you're gonna burn yourself out. And you don't want to do it. And then, perfect example, that your example is like being on the opposite side and just being almost turning into the villain because
Yeah.
you're harping on people about not doing it to your standard. And it's like, well, first of all, you can't control everybody, and that's been even hard for me to get over, especially when it comes to seeing some of the terrible things that people do in the ocean. And you can't control everybody, and by not being a cheerleader, like you want them to maybe up their standards or like make suggestions, like then be nice about it. Like, I'm so
Right.
proud of you for, yes, no longer using plastic bags. You know, my suggestion is if you forget your reusable bag, use a paper one, or really think like, do I need a bag? You know, it just be everybody's supporter instead of the criticizer. And
Yeah.
because by harping on somebody and making them feel bad, then they don't want to do it at all.
Yeah, for sure.
It's, you know, again, we're all in this together. we all have big problems to face together. It is all of our problems that we collectively need to address.
So on that topic of pulling bags out of turtles' butts and all the fun things that you find inside of turtles,
Yeah.
if you want to take us through a little bit of your, I guess we could say day to day, but obviously I know that in this industry there's not really too much of a similar day to day. So just give us like an overview of your sea turtle rehab rescue
Yeah, absolutely.
life, what you see, what you encounter, and how that looks.
So, I mean, like you said, no day is the same. And I think that's why
Yeah.
I love sea turtle rehab too, because you have no idea what each turtle is going to come to you with. Recently, we had a turtle strand with a big old conch on it. Like, and that means that the turtle was sitting on the bottom of the ocean somewhere long enough for this damn snail to crawl up on its shell and hitch a ride. I mean, the conch was like as big as the turtle too. So I know that's the fastest that snail has ever been. And so it's fun things like that. But you know, usually what happens is a beachgoer will find the turtle, or someone in a boat will find a turtle that's having a hard time swimming. They'll ideally call FWC first. People do bring the turtles straight to the zoo, to like the front of the zoo, and they're like, I found this turtle. And it's like, that's a red-eared slider. Thank you. You know, but things like that. So ideally they call FWC, and then the turtle is brought to us by one of the local other non-for-profits like Sea Turtle Preservation Society or Coastal Connections. They'll drive the turtles to us. There's only 2 paid sea turtle staff between me and my partner Shannon, so we do not have time to go drive the 70 miles of Brevard County up north, up south. So they bring the turtle to us, and then we just do your basic evals. You're checking heart rate, temperature, respiratory rate is a little bit hard on sea turtles because they don't breathe that often. We'll pull blood, so basic diagnostics. We'll look at their red blood cell count. Are they anemic? We'll do diagnostic imaging, so x-rays. we have a CT machine. We'll run the turtle through a CT machine and just really, get the picture of, hey, what's going on? Sometimes it's really evident. Like we have a turtle right now. She's not releasable. She's going to the aquarium temporarily. And then when we open up our aquarium, she'll come back to us. Her name is McNubbins. She's missing both of her front flippers from a shark. So it's things like that, like obvious, or, this turtle is missing most of its rear flippers from another animal. Boat strikes, very definitive. And when they get hit by boats, it's majority of the time it's the propellers, not like the hull causing blunt force trauma. So propeller damage, fishing line entanglement, they're wrapped up in it. Sometimes they have eaten the fishing line and it is stuck in their GI. You don't know that until you do ultrasounds and you see that their GI is all bunched up. So all the diagnostics, or sometimes we get my favorites, the little crusty green turtles. So little crusty greens are exactly what it sounds like. Little juvenile green sea turtles who are thin, they're anemic, they just haven't eaten in a while. There's a bunch of stuff growing on them. They're crusty because they're covered in barnacles, algae, mud. They're just grubby in general. They like to strand all at once at the end of winter. So like right now, this week, the last week of March, we as in all the sea turtle rescues on the East Coast of Florida have been getting smacked with little crusty green turtles. So it happens every year. It's the season. And these turtles, they're so cute because you put them in water and usually they start eating right away. And they're so thankful that that they have food, and they end up being like just these very adorable, spunky little green turtles when they turn around. They're, like I said, they're some of my favorite patients to take care of because they just again, they're so grateful to just have a nice little warm pool with some food, and they usually have a quick turnaround. So that's a natural thing. Little crusty greens or barnacle bills, they're loggerheads. They'll come in, same thing, covered in barnacles, thin, they just need some food. Parasites, it happens all the time. They come in. So we get gassy green turtles too. They're just full of gas. They ate some bad grass. I don't know. But we get these little green turtles, who look great other than the fact that they can't dive. Because if you think about it, if they're full of air, they're buoys. They can't dive down. It's just like, you just need to fart really bad. And
do they make audible farting?
Mm-hmm, they can. But my favorite, I think I'm spending too much time with turtles. Sea turtle farts, when they fart underwater, it's bubbles. It's exactly what you think. And it is the funniest damn thing I've ever seen. I don't know why. I could be having the worst day, but if one of those little green turtles farts, I'm just like, oh my God, it's exactly what I needed.
Is there any way, is there anything you do to kind of push the gas out of that, or assist the gas, or does it just happen naturally?
Gas X. I will.
You literally give the turtles
give them Gas X. I will go to Walmart and pick up boxes of Gas X and go to checkout, and they're like, I'm like, these are for sea turtles. It's not for me. And I'm like, I know that sounds even weirder, but I see they're for sea turtles.
They're more confused.
And they're just like, okay, beep, beep. Yeah.
So can you tell that they're gassy just by the fact that they have a hard time diving, or is there anything that shows up on a scan or anything?
So usually if there's no sign of boat strikes, like I was talking about bubble butt syndrome, if there's no sign of boat strikes and they can't get down, it's most likely gas.
Most likely gas.
It could also be something where it's called pneumocoelom, so it means air in the body cavity. And they get that from their lungs will get a rip and air will just go into their body cavity. So, and then the air can't come back out. And that's usually caused by pneumonia. Pneumonia will denature the tissues of the lung and make it fragile. So then the air can start leaking into the body. But anyway, most of the time it's gas. And you can tell in x-rays, you'll see just their bowel loops are just full of air. And I'm like, I just want
sure.
to like squeeze you a little bit.
Squeeze.
Just to, like,
Yeah, like what's that thing people do with the babies where they like take their
exactly.
legs and then like push them up? Take the little turtle legs.
Yeah, no,
and, like,
definitely like
just wiggle them.
push their little rear flippers in a little bit, like.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's little gassy green turtles. We get them.
We're just off gassing the turtle.
They're literally off gassing
to bring in this podcast name.
You did not do your deco stop, turtle. Yeah, so little gassy greens, it happens. But a lot of our patients are just natural debilitation. So that could mean anything. Like I said, parasites, pneumonia, they got too cold stunning. Just things like that. But we do see, especially where we are, where we're next to like Banana River, Indian River Lagoon. We're next to these rivers with lots of boats, and there's turtles in there too. Lots of boat strikes, and unfortunately, most boat strikes are fatal, and not fatal as in they die immediately. They will get that. I was talking about bubble butt syndrome, and if the propeller hits their spine, they can actually still kind of move their rear flippers. They're not like us, where if we break our back, we can't move anything from there down. They can still kind of move, and they look great other than like that kind of gas distension in their GI. But what happens is their GI stops moving, essentially dies, and they rot from the inside out. So they become septic, like their guts are not moving. They'll continue to eat because they think, they're like, okay, like I gotta survive, but they don't know that like they're not pooping, they're not digesting anything, and it's just a very slow, awful death. So boat strikes, and then I mean boat strikes sound awful, but fishing line entanglement and ingestion, these are in my opinion, working with turtles for almost 15 years at this point, that is the worst way, most slow and painful way that just ocean life dies. Fishing line, it's sharp. It cuts down into their skin. So when they're entangled, I had a turtle, he's actually tattooed on my arm. Name is Venus. They came in with fishing line wrapped around both front flippers, and it broke both of their humerus bones to the point where these fractures were not connected. So their front flippers, like they could not control their front flippers. They were, the only reason why they were still connected to their body was just through soft tissue. So you could see their bone moving under the skin as they're trying to use their flippers. It was awful. And just like that turtle had been living with that fishing line and broken bones for who knows how long at that point. 2 years later, we released that turtle. Yeah, it was one of my like most fond memories working in sea turtle rehab. But their humerus bones, like God, turtles are so tough. They're so tough, and it's great because you get plenty of opportunities to save them, but also they suffer a lot because they can live through anything. But anyways, their humerus bones fused back together. They kind of recalcified in those fractures. They were very ugly humerus bones, but they worked. So we, after many tests to confirm that they were ocean worthy, we released Venus 2 years later. So just goes to show how again, how tough they are, but what they can also endure.
Right.
And fishing line ingestment. So what happens is sea turtles love to eat algae off of rocks around piers. Well, there's usually a lot of fishing line mixed into all of that seagrass and algae off of the piers. So they unintentionally eat the fishing line. And what happens is if it's a long piece of fishing line, they'll eat it and they kind of get caught in it, and then they'll use their flipper to try to swat it out of their mouth, and then their flipper gets caught in it. We see it all the time. So they have an entanglement with fishing line ingestment. So you have two problems. The fishing line ingestment, if it's too long of a piece, like your GI it's constantly moving stuff out. It's a muscle, it's moving, all the contents of your stomach out through your GI. So when it can't do that because there's a fishing line in it, it bunches up and it causes a lot of tension on the fishing line. It's kind of hard to describe, but eventually what happens is the tension of the fishing line will cut through the GI. and then they will just be leaking fecal matter into their body cavity. And so just think about like how painful that is. And they endure that. These tough little green turtles who are just still eating and still trying to survive while they are rotting from the inside out. So yes, it seems bleak. I know. And I hate but it's got to be talked about, because a lot of my dive buddies, they're like, you spend so much time collecting fishing line off of reefs and like wrecks. Are you even enjoying your dives? And I'm like, look, you guys are enjoying taking your photos and stuff. I take joy knowing that nothing is going to eat this fishing line or get caught.
Yeah.
And this is the one thing that I tell people all the time. Like, as long as it's safe, take the time to cut some line. You don't have, like, if you can collect it, yes, please collect all of it. But if it's a long ass piece of fishing line, it's stuck, cut it into smaller pieces. It is no longer an entanglement problem. And if it's short enough, it won't get stuck in animals' stomachs. Again, there's a safety side behind it. I'm not telling everybody to collect every single piece of fishing line. Do it smartly. But if you see it, like, cut it into smaller pieces. That helps so much. Like, you don't want to carry it. You're whatever. Like, I'm not gonna sit here and judge anybody. Collect as much as you can. If you can't, just use your line cutter. Boop, boop, boop. Smaller pieces. Even better. Yeah. So it's, and as divers, I think that there is, yes, it's not our fishing line, but the fishermen aren't going to jump down to go get it when they accidentally leave fishing line. So who's going to do it?
I've heard someone say about like fishing line and hooks that's supposedly like biodegradable, or that's supposed to like rest. I'm skeptical on some of that.
Right. I am too. So it really depends on your hooks and, fishing line though, it depends, because there's different types of fishing line. There's braided line, which is made more of a fiber material. There's monofilament, which is, plastic based. We all know what plastic does. It'll eventually, yes, break down, but like after how long and how many animals could get entrapped in that while it's down there. So in my opinion, and this is me, and I don't ask everybody to do this, but when I see it, I feel like it's my responsibility. But I also have a lot of PTSD from seeing animals die in my hands from fishing line.
Right.
So it's like, I don't want to, again, the doom and gloom, it can only help so much. But like, I have literally had sea turtles die in my hands because, we tried very hard to do surgery to remove the fishing line, unsuccessful, or they die in recovery because their body could not handle the surgery. And it was either do the surgery or we euthanize, and we want to give them a chance. So it's, a little bit of PTSD, but again, I find joy in knowing that fishing line is no longer going to be a problem. And to each his own. Everybody enjoys their dive. You pay a lot to be on a diving boat, 100%, but just to meet in the middle. That's why I tell people, just cut it into smaller pieces.
Yeah, sure. That makes sense. I didn't even think about that either. And sometimes you find line that like there's like that algae or like stuff starting to grow on it because it's been there so long.
Right.
And that's the same with like some trash too, that like once it started like growing its own stuff, I'm like, do I pick it up or do I just leave it? Because at this point it's like part of the
ecosystem at that point.
Yeah, like it's obvious when there's like something living in it or whatever. I'm like, like that's your home now. I'm not going to take it away.
Right.
But when it's not necessary, well, I guess coral is living, so yeah, it's kind of
absolutely. And there's definitely those situations where I would leave something, but the goal is to pull plastic out before it becomes home.
Right. But I had never thought about like sometimes there's line that's so like wrapped into coral too that it's like I can't rip
cut around it.
I will. I'm like I'll rip like all the coral. So I didn't even think about the fact that I'm like, oh, I could just cut little chunks of it off that are. So that's a good point.
Yeah. And the biggest like entanglement risk, so it's like you'll sometimes I saw it on the SO Bonaire a couple times, breakers, like the fishing line, it's like stuck over the rocks or the wreck, almost like Christmas tree lights. So it's just like
Yeah.
looping like that. That
Yeah.
is such a huge entanglement risk, not just for animals, but for divers too. So if you
Yeah.
just take the time to like cut that so it's no longer just hanging there like Christmas tree lights with
Right.
something to swim into. 2 seconds,
Yeah.
really.
So true.
So, look out for your animals, look out for your divers, because, fishing line can be dangerous, not to just to the people, or not just the animals, but divers too. Just assess the situation before you do it, because you don't want to get stuck down there too.
Right. Yeah, always like teaching CPR where it's like scene assessment.
Yeah.
Like, take a step back and assess the scene, make sure it's safe for you to enter before we go.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, take the time to cut some line and put that on a sticker.
Yeah, there you go. Well, other thing I want to talk about is your Wave Maker
Yeah.
award that you got this year. So if you want to talk a little bit about what that is, how you got it, and all that.
The Wave Maker Award is an award put on by DEMA. And what it does is it acknowledges new professionals in the diving field who are, quote, quote, making waves. I was nominated by my dive shop, Ohana Dive Co. And I'm always just very humbled by when people think of me as, something worthy of being acknowledged in that way. So they actually kept it a surprise that they nominated me until I got the email like, hey, you're a finalist. And I'm like, excuse me, what?
Pardon?
What is this? And I definitely got a little teary eyed. Yeah, I won. I was just like, oh, okay. And it was just for my work with the sea turtles, and also bringing all of my passion into being a dive instructor, and making not just scuba divers, but people who want to do good for the environment. Just like we were talking about, you have, especially as an instructor, you have so much. Every diver has the power to do something amazing. I 100% believe that. You have these awesome opportunities underwater to, again, change the environment in all the good ways. Just simply by, oh my God, picking up trash. Woo! It's so important. And being able to be in an instructor position and have these brand new divers who are moldable, or newer divers on like the shark boat who are there to face their fears of sharks. And it's like, there's so much potential in them, and I can see it. And I definitely take those chances whenever I get them, to be like, because from a few simple but powerful words or moments, when people like get to see the turtles who are missing flippers from, yes, I said flippers because they're flippers. I know that's the bad F word here, but sea turtles have flippers. When people are sea turtles missing a flipper from fishing line, that sparks something in them. Or when the bull sharks are here during the winter, and it's like, bull sharks have such a negative connotation because of media. And we'll go into before our dive, I'm like, okay, we're going to go see some bull sharks. How does media portray bull sharks? And everybody says aggressive. Okay, I'm going to ask you how you feel about them when we're done. We come up from our dive, we'll have 7 bull sharks on us. And everybody had a great time. I'm like, how do you feel about bull sharks? Everybody's like, they're beautiful, they're so cute. I'm like, I know, they have these big old noses and they're big bodies with little fins. And then we freak out about it. So, that was just the award is, focusing on just, again, acknowledging new professionals who are trying to make a difference in the area and in the world. DEMA is an awesome organization. And again, it's where I met my dive shop, who gave me all these opportunities to really get into this field. So
shout out Ohana Dive Co. for real.
Yeah,
they're quite a eclectic group of individuals. They're super big personalities, and
definitely
passion and all that. They're great.
Yeah,
I also met them at DEMA.
We have a lot of fun. We have a lot of fun getting people excited about the ocean and bringing people who love diving into the professional realm to get those opportunities, come be a dive master on my boat, things like that. So
Which boat?
Well, it's not my boat. It's the boat I work on, but Emerald Charters. Yeah.
Yeah, you can go dive with sharks with her. Or, well, I guess technically right now at the Bavard Zoo, you're behind the scenes.
Correct.
But Bavard Zoo has a huge renovation, expansion.
Expansion, yeah. So we're expanding we're making a second facility up in Port Canaveral. So where all the cruise ships come in. We are opening up an aquarium, and we are focused on Florida central animals. So we are actually opening up a second sea turtle rescue there, which is going to be very helpful. And we're also doing manatee rescue. And again, just focusing, save the manatees. Manatee rescue, and then focusing on all of our local animals in the lagoon. Our riverways right here are suffering a lot just from various types of pollution and yada yada. So like the ecosystem is a little bit in a dip at the moment. So we're really hoping to highlight what these animals ecosystem is going through. But really the sea turtle rescue there will be open to the public, and everybody can see what we're doing. I will be in the spotlight a lot of the times, so I gotta watch what I'm doing and watch my mouth.
Yeah.
Just like back when I was at SeaWorld. Smiles all the time.
Oh, right.
I'm just kidding. It'll be great because we got all these opportunities to really, put people in front of sea turtles and see really what these turtles endure and the cool things that we get to do. And one of my favorite parts about this zoo and working for the Sea Turtle Healing Center is that I have so many opportunities to think outside of the box with the sea turtles and bring new types of treatments to the table. Not down talking veterinary technicians or anything, but it's like in the sea turtle realm, like sea turtle medicine is young in the grand scheme of things. So we can come up with all kinds of things to potentially help these sea turtles. And so, me, like, I myself have come up with a few new treatments for sea turtles. I suggested chiropractic care for sea turtles. And I know it sounds silly, but they have neck vertebrae that move. They're not all connected like in the shell. So when you have turtles that have neck injuries, they swim funky, and it'll affect their buoyancy and which lung the air will primarily go into for like cockeyed. So chiropractic care will come and fix any injuries in their neck, and we've seen it happen, and we see it works. So chiropractic care, different types of methods to get nutrition to them, using one of the things that I'm looking into now is using fresh tilapia skin for wounds.
Oh, yeah.
That's a huge thing. And even human medicine is fish skin grafts. Fish skin is full of collagen and helps with wound care. So, tilapia are plentiful out here. You find them everywhere. So a lot of places already cull the tilapia in certain areas. So, we can use their bodies for good. And, we found a way to sterilize the tilapia skin to then be used to help with sea turtle wounds. So that's just one of these cool things that I'm currently working on. And we've seen how fish skin grafts work on turtles, but now we're just trying to find a more cost-effective way of doing it. Because it could be like $500 for a 8-inch by 8-inch square when you buy it from a medical supply. So we found a way to do it kind of in our own backyard.
Right.
Which, making these treatment options more available to sea turtles can be life-changing for some of these individuals who have really bad wounds in their flippers. It could save limbs, ideally.
Oh, so not even just their shell, like anywhere on them.
Anywhere. So yeah, you prep the wounds, you clean it up really good, and you actually suture the fish skin to them, and that collagen will then leach into that tissue that needs care. And like I said, they use it in human medicine all the time. It's pretty cool.
Sure.
They used it in California when there was a really bad wildfires. They had bears and mountain lions with burnt paws. And so they sutured fish skin because these wild animals, they're going to eat whatever's on their paws. So you might as well use something that is not like, you need to use
Oh,
something that is
sure.
not going to hurt them. So
Right.
they used like just local wild caught, not sure if it was tilapia, it was another fish though, and they sutured
Right.
onto their paws. So there was no risk of eating something bad.
Right.
So there's
That's so interesting.
wildlife medicine is so cool. There's just so much you can do. And for me, thinking out of the box, and as an aquarist, I'm sure that you're also a MacGyver when it comes to things.
Yeah.
Duct tape, I can't live without it.
Yeah.
It just comes with the territory. So being able to still kind of be like a MacGyver with things like that. Carapace fractures. We use wires and little screws to stabilize them. We'll use, actually, we sometimes use bra straps. So like the hooks on bra straps. Yeah. So you can glue those to fractures and then string wire or string through it to pull together the fractures of the carapace so that the top of the shell. It's just, like I said, it is endless of the possibilities of cool things that we get to do.
This is like a million ideas of things that you guys are listening to that I want to get pictures and like put the, you know what I mean? Like match the
verbiage with what
with what you're talking about, which we're planning on getting together and doing some filming of the content, so you guys will be able to see a little bit of the sea turtle, Jess on her, doing her thing with the turtles. We're gonna make that happen, so I can show you like probably some CT scans. If there's pictures of different things like that, we'll put some stuff together for you. So you have to follow our page. Your page is private, yeah? Or do you have one that you...
No, it should be open. I think it's open.
Oh, it's open? All right. So you have to follow our pages to see those things. I'll also share some things with Nick so he can post on the off-gassing page so that he can, you can see those things there. Let's see. The project, any other like things you got going on currently in your, spare time that you have plentiful of?
In all of my spare time. No, right now I am really just focused on turtles, diving more.
Yes, turtles, what, Monday through Friday?
So yeah, Sunday, well, sometimes Sunday, but mostly Monday through Thursday. And then
Monday through Thursday,
sharks Friday, Saturday, and teaching Sundays.
Scuba, yes, teaching scuba on Sundays.
So
she's gonna
keep that day open.
Book schedules.
Yeah. So, but I love everything that I do. I mean, yes, there are times when after 3 days of diving and teaching where I come back on turtles on Monday and I'm like, I am a quarter of a person right now. And I'm really sorry. I'm going to try my hardest.
Yeah.
But, it just gave me a couple hours and I'll get excited again. I'll see the turtles and, just living life to the fullest. And, like I said, any diver has the power to do something awesome for the ocean. And whether it be one moment or where you make a career out of it, just, where you become that mentor to people and just I don't know. It's very inspiring to be always better. So I'm just going to work my way up and get all the certifications and, working on tech classes this year. So
Oh, cool.
Yeah. I want to do it all.
Yeah. Tech for me is, I'm like, maybe eventually, but it's like so not in my realm.
Yeah.
But
I get it. Because I just always want to learn. Because I rolled right into, I graduated from Purdue, passed my boards for vet tech, immediately started working on dive master to instructor. And now, I'm in this lull right now where I'm like, I'm not actively studying anything. I need to, do I really need to? Yes, I do. I need to keep myself.
She says, what is break? Don't know.
Yeah,
I swear
no.
there's no putting out your flame. I am exhausted just thinking about your schedule. I truly don't know how she does it.
Well, like I said, lots of Celsius at the moment. Really need to get off. Really need to get off that shit. It's expensive. And yeah, just be like I said, I'm very inspired every day to do well, to do something good. This might explain a little bit of my personality. When you ask people, oh, why do you like scuba diving? And a lot of the response is, oh, it's just so quiet. It's peaceful. I'm by myself, yada, yada. And in my head, I'm like, the last place I want to be is by myself with myself in my own head. So, and ocean life is the one thing that can like get me out of it. So I'm diving to see things.
Right.
And honestly, when I am down working with the sharks, that is the only time in my awake existence where I'm only thinking about one thing, and that is don't get bit by the shark. But like, you know, watching my divers too. But you know, I'm all over the place. I'm kind of squirrely. But I think that again has a lot to do with my personality.
Yeah.
On my days off, you can ask any of my friends. They're like, "Wow, you have a day off. You must like be enjoying yourself, relaxing." And I'm like,
Just laying at home.
I'm like, I'm gonna go on a run, and then I'm gonna go on a hike, and then I'm like,
Yeah.
and I'm gonna try to find something to occupy. I'm also an artist, but
Oh yeah, that's true.
when I have some things that I'm working on. Whatever, I get that done. It's like I start drawing, and then I immediately fall asleep. Just
Yeah, calms you down.
yeah,
That's why I can't read. I'll like fall asleep immediately if I start reading.
Yep.
I can't.
100%.
It's too zen.
People give me fun books about diving, and they're like, "Read this." I'm like,
Do you have it on book on tape?
I will try.
Wait, book on tape. Ew, how old am I?
Well, podcasts.
Is there an audiobook for that? That's
Yeah.
what I meant.
Can you put this? Because when I drive down to Jupiter, you know, every weekend, this is what I need. Yeah. It's like,
Oh yeah, that's true.
it's
on
the only time I
road.
listen to podcasts is when I'm
Yeah.
driving my butt down to see the sharks. But yeah, there's endless. If anybody ever needs a pep talk on getting re-inspired about the ocean, you just hit me up.
Hit up her DMs. Go slide into those DMs.
I'll send you photos of cute turtles.
What is it? At Jess?
Jessica Lane P. So Jessica Lane Laine P for Patterson.
There you go.
Yeah.
On the Instagram.
Yeah, I'm only on Instagram.
So yeah, if you want to follow Jess, we talked about what her handle is. I'm sure Nick will tag them as well in the posts and whatnot, probably in the comment or in the whatever description of the podcast. Whenever Bavard Zoo has their expansion and aquarium, you can see her at the sea turtle rescue section. If you want to go shark diving with her, she's on Emerald out of Jupiter, Florida. And then if you want to teach or learn scuba from her, Ohana Dive Co. I'm sure that's how they would contact to get that arranged.
Yeah.
Probably is the best.
Go through the shop.
They're like out of Nashville, Tennessee. She's in Florida, so just keep that distinction.
Yeah.
Like, you would be, talking to them or whatever through Nashville, but she is actually in Florida.
Yeah. So I'm their remote instructor. So even if this podcast is reaching places, say, hey, near Nashville, you can start your open water classes with them, and you can do your pool work up there. And then if you want to come visit me down in Florida, I can actually finish your open water portion in the ocean.
Yeah, or wherever you're at, if you do your first portion of and get referred down to her, that works too. But yeah, if you're also by Nashville, then for sure go to Ohana.
Yeah. To get you all figured out, get you in the water. So
yeah. All right, thanks so much for coming on and chatting with me.
Absolutely.
All the categories. I feel like we covered 800 different topics today, but
so many things.
It all interconnects in the end.
It really does. We all have the power to do good things as divers, really. Even not as divers. We talked about it. Even if you're not a diver, but you love the ocean, there's definitely things you can do. So
we all have the power to make change.
It's true. It really is. I believe in all of you.
Amen.
Off-gassing, a scuba podcast.